So, hi everyone, welcome to Life in F-Stop. On today's episode, we will talk about street photography, especially the ones in black and white. Today with us is a very talented photographer from Ecuador. His name is Xavier Ponce. He's an award-winning photographer and international publishing photographer. His work has been published in a lot of different magazines around the world, and he has won a lot of different international photography awards like Refocus, One Island, Sony Photography Awards, and many more. I just saw that you posted another publication, so, right?
Yeah, that's right. Well, thanks, Adrian, for having me. Very excited to be part of this. Yes, actually, I was featured in the latest edition that went out to the market yesterday of Digital Photographer. So they were talking a little bit about my work, my street photography, what I call it, urban monochrome photography, and yeah, I'm happy to talk about it and tell you a little bit about this journey, which is quite new for me. And I'll tell you the story, but this is all very new for me in terms of having recognition of being published. So it's quite exciting. It's a hobby that I have taken seriously, but nonetheless, it's given me a lot of personal satisfaction, and I'm very happy to share some with you.
Yeah, it's really great. I mean, when you also win international awards and that you see that your work is recognized around the world and then gives you a motivation, to continue. Javier, can you
Exactly right.
please let us know how did you first get into photography? Was there a particular moment or experience that sparked your interest?
Well, it has
Or how?
been a lifetime thing for me. I can remember being interested in photography for at least 30 plus years, right? So in my early 20s, I got into a black and white film developing course here in Ecuador. And I think that is the origin of my appreciation for black and white photography. I remember converting the bathroom that I had into my parents' home into a dark room. There was a big light, a big ceiling window that I painted with with paint in a can. The smell kept coming for weeks to make it really black. So that's where I started really having this passion for photography. Um, I've kept records of probably my probably 30 years of my life in photos from my life as a young guy, working and living here and there, and then with family traveling. So probably I have archives of photography for 30 years, right? In the past five, it has taken a serious twist and turn, nonetheless being a hobby. And I have evolved substantially, and I think I have found my calling, which is kind of street photography, urban photography. I do a little bit of portraits. I do a little bit of color, but I feel I'm completely drawn into black and white. I think that is what gets the most out of me, and I am beginning to develop a style that probably it's characterized now. It's a characteristic of my work, and so that's a little bit a short, long answer to a short question. Photography has been omnipresent in my life.
That's great. I mean, you told us that you started with analog or film photography in a dark room. That would have been a really great experience. Like when you see photos coming to life, like in a dark room. I believe that would have been a great
Oh
experience for
yes,
you. Yeah, you told us that photography is just a
oh
hobby.
yes.
Like it's not currently, right?
That is correct. Yes, I have a couple of hats that I wear on a daily basis. Keeps me quite busy from work perspective. So yes, this is time I steal out of my free time. I steal out of my family. I steal out of my work travel. I steal out of my personal travel. But I think now I am devoting quite a significant part of time because I feel it's a true passion turned into into a hobby, that it's a serious hobby, as I call it.
Yeah, it's same with me. I mean, it started as a hobby and then it kind of became my passion, and you just start loving it more and more every day. What drew your street photography, especially? For
Um,
example,
I think,
something you
yeah,
always wanted to do, or did this kind of happen naturally?
I think it happened naturally. I travel a lot, both of work and and for leisure with my family. Even though I do nothing close to it, but if I wouldn't have been what I am today, probably architecture could have been a thing to consider. So I do have a keen eye and an appreciation for architecture, right? So that draws me to walk the streets of the cities, and I love urban settings. At the same time, I am a nature lover. I love to go out and see natural landscapes. But the fact that I travel significantly and I have had the opportunity to go about many countries around the world, and even before I started considering publishing a photo of mine, when I was looking into my archives, there were always shots of urban compositions, right? And that is where basically street photography comes out as a convenient way of expressing my appreciation for telling urban stories, right? Trying to catch something that tells a story about a city. So that's where my street photography has that origin. And even though it's not my main focus, but I think you could say that that is my main style.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I have seen your portfolio and your work, and it's what you have done so far. It's really great. I mean, because, for example,
Thanks.
why do you shoot black and white? What does this black and white bring to your work
Why?
that, for example, why do you love black and white?
I think it's going back to my roots, right? Of those memories in my early 20s of what you said of a photograph coming to life, and when it came to life, it was black and white, and it was so hard to get it right, to get the true blacks and the whites, and probably that is the thing that drew me into it. It's reminiscence to my young days, if you will. But I've always been drawn to it. I think it poses a great challenge to eliminate the element of color out of your work, and it forces you to see differently. You see in color, right? You see in color with your eyes. So trying to imagine that in black and white, you need to find the right angle. You need to find the right contrast. Play around with point of views. So eliminating that the crutch, which I created a crutch for myself by eliminating color and trying to think differently in terms of compositions. So I think, and it came out nicely, right? When I was looking at my first photographs that were really thought about, composing and giving it an angle and seeing how light comes in, and then perhaps having a subject come in to give it the proportions and size. It blended in. It blended in, and I started really liking what I saw from my shots compared to my color shots. Uh, and I say that I became colorblind by choice, and pretty much I think that still holds. Uh, you know, when I'm browsing into photographs into social media from colleagues, uh, it's really hard for me to get it drawn into a color photography. While if I go and do this in black and white and monochrome, my eyes start popping out. So I think it's something intrinsic in me now. I'm not saying that I do not enjoy color, because every once in a while, I see an image or a setting that, it screams for color, and I have a couple of decent color photography photographs, but in general, monochrome is that for me. It's some say it's elegant, some say it's timeless, and yeah, when I see one of my pictures hanging in a wall in black and white, it really, really, makes me feel good. I don't
Yeah,
know how
I
else
mean,
can I put it.
black and white is really powerful. Javier, how does, I mean,
Yep.
you said that you travel in a lot of different places, around the world. How does traveling to new places influence your street photography? Because everywhere you go, probably you would have different kind of architecture, different streets.
Some of my shots are completely random out of places that I just went out and explored. You know, like taking the subway or taking a bus or just landing into a neighborhood and walking around. Certainly there are, when you go to certain cities, there are these iconic places that you probably won't miss. But at the same time, you know that hundreds of people have taken that same shot, so that becomes a challenge in terms of how to see it differently. Uh, the one thing that I do, and I've done it for two reasons, is I shoot at dawn most of I try to. First, because when I went out with my family on the holidays, I was always the guy who there's dad stopping by and taking pictures. So they were, come on, come on, come on, and me catching up and then getting reprimanded. Dad, we're always late because you start taking pictures and taking photographs. So I said, okay, let's do a deal. We go out on holidays. I go out early in the morning, and I come back by 8 o'clock, and we have breakfast. So by this, I started having this routine of really going before dawn, and certainly the light when it lights up, blue hour, and the fact that cities are empty, mostly empty, it's a great thing for me. I don't like clutter photos. I don't like clutter shots. I love, clean. Most of my shots are of clean scenes, and it's great when you have this bustling street with a nice architectural background, completely empty, but a single person crossing, it gives you an element of romance or of, I don't know how to describe it, but that is kind of my thing. When I go out in the cities, I am always up and walking random places in the morning and trying to find that shot. And funny enough, many of the shots that I am more proud of are completely random, of not the one that you thought, I have to go there and have to take this particular photo. Perhaps it's just a puddle of water, reflecting a nice building in an empty street, or one that I particularly like it was a nice shot in Germany. I just went to have dinner in this random Japanese place, and it had this incredible cave made out of woodwork that had these sinuous, shapes, just slightly lit, and it's one of my favorite shots. I call it sinuous sushi, and it's just that. I just happened to have my camera, having dinner with friends. I went to the loo, to the toilet, and there was this place. I took a shot, and there it was. It was 1 second. While others, I've stood for many hours just standing there waiting for that perfect place and just a single person to cross at the perfect time. And sometimes it pays off as well, right? So I have both those kind of photos which are completely, street light, candid at the moment, zone focus, it happens, click. And the others that I have worked and waited for to have the right and exact composition. And sometimes it happens, sometimes it not. You know that.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite challenging sometimes when you have to wait and you have to be uh, patient, and to have a lot of patience. And as you said, I really like also taking pictures on dawn, especially, for example, on sunset, because also the colors and the light is
Yeah,
not too
absolutely.
strong, and it gives a feeling of a picture different that you would shoot, for example, in the middle of the day.
Absolutely, absolutely. At the middle of the day is really harsh. Light is not doesn't help you a lot, and it's always full of people.
Are any particular places or cities you find more inspiring for street photography, or
um, as I told you, because of this architectural thing that I have in my mind, whenever there is a big, building, a big setting, I think it's the perfect backdrop. I tend to go and look for these iconic buildings, or places that are quite modern in nature, or classic. Those two ends. The really classic ones and the really modern ones. Those are the ones that attract to me. So and depending where you go, you can find them in almost every city. There is something that has a kind of attention in the Western world. Well, everywhere in the world. So I do my little bit of research, and I, I go to the web and Google or ChatGPT, great places for street photography, and you get the usual responses in terms of the touristy places. But then I think I just walk. I walk a lot. I walk a lot, and try to get those places or scenes that are not that common, because as I said, those iconic buildings, those places, half a million people have taken photograph of them. So it really becomes a challenge of doing something different, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I think it's a combination at the end of the day of where, but probably walking the streets and going into random places. Is a place. The thing is, you need to have your camera with you, and you know that the worst shot that you take is the one that you didn't take because you didn't have your camera with you. So I've managed to get a combination of cameras that allow me to do that. To be carrying them most of the time without being very conspicuous. Street photography, they say it's all about being discreet, not intimidating people with a huge lens. Sometimes depending where I go, I've had my camera with a large lens, but most of my cameras are really people even couldn't say that I'm taking pictures, so that helps a lot in terms of creating those scenes where you're close to people that they won't react to you.
Yeah, so you would also use small lenses. What kind of lenses, for example, do you
My
use?
favorite, yeah, my favorite focal distance is 28. Yeah,
28.
I think. Yeah, I think it's a great landscape kind of thing where I want to capture, in general, big scenes. I'm not into the focus of tiny detail, right? I want many times I want to present something that blends perhaps a majestic or not majestic urban scene with a single person crossing out for proportion. So that 28-35 is the ones that I use the most, and it's my day to day. Every once in a while, I take out my long lens. My long lens is a 90, so no more than that. And I have something in that range. I think I have a 24, I have a 28, I have a 35, a 50, a 75, a 90, and that's it.
I have also to ask you, what kind of camera do you use? Are you a Nikon, Canon, Sony?
I I was an icon for a long time, and but I have to say that when I discovered Leica, things changed for me.
Like,
Yeah, yeah, I'm a big Leica user now, and all that I have is on the Leica system, right? Why? I don't know. Sometimes someone asked me. I described it as because of their complex simplicity. I just feel that their user interface is so friendly. I feel that I understand everything that I read in the camera, and I think that I am using, if not most, quite a few of the features, and I can understand what I do when I change those settings, and I don't know. I cannot explain it, but certainly it was a game changer for me, and it sounds sad at times, if you will, that a camera or a set of cameras kind of really make that difference. But in my case, I think it was a little bit of that. The portability, the user interface, the friendliness. It just I think I shoot more oftenly with that system that I used to do with the other in the past.
I've also read a lot of different articles about Leica, and they were saying also that, especially for street photography, it's an amazing camera.
Yes, it is.
So,
Yes, it
can
is.
you tell us about your workflow? What is like
My workflow is, yeah.
from taking shots,
I'm
post
I'm
processing?
I'm, I'm I don't think I have a lot to say, or at least you say a professional way to do this. Right? I shoot a lot. I shoot a lot, and I I am very I am very impatient person. I'm not a very patient person, so I am quite bad at editing more than a minute per picture, right?
Okay.
So many times, and this, of course, there is time when I go down and sit and I do the proper thing and I devote 4 hours or 5 hours to this thing because I have my time is relatively scarce because I have to juggle many things: family life, kids, friends, work, things that I do on my side, my other hobbies. Basically, I review my shots there and there in the camera. And whenever I see a few that I like, I instantly download them into my phone through the app that connects me the Leica photos, which is that. And then I open it in Lightroom, do some basic adjustments if there are to highlight whatever I want to highlight or not, and that becomes the photo. And it stays in my phone, and then I transfer or Lightroom in the cloud, whatever it is, and then I have it in my archive. So, but it's not a very profound or professional, if you will, or dedicated workflow. That's the way it is. It's so my photos are shot, taking a look at, review, downloaded, basic tweaks, and they stand and they go and sit in an archive. Whenever I have time and I really get to organize my shots, my folders by date, by city, whatever, and then I have to pick my favorites, then is when I take a second look at those that I have, that I have as selected as a previous favorites, and then perhaps I do some more in depth, fine tuning, or really dedicate a little bit more time to that particular shot. But basically, that's the way it is. Not that much. I wish I could tell you that I have a really sound and process that this is and that. It's quite opportunistic, if that's the word.
Yeah, and assume you take a lot of pictures, and so you don't have the time like to go through all of them and choose your favorites. You don't really have the time always to get into that thing. Javier, you
That's
have
true.
sent me
That's
some
true.
of your images, which have been published in a magazine. I would like to share the screen now, and I would like you to talk about these
You're losing
pictures
me a
and
bit
images.
there.
Then this is a magazine that some of your works have been published. Which magazine is this?
That's an article that Lens magazine published on me. I think it was this past May. So that might be Lens magazine.
And the title is really great, Being Colorblind. This image is really beautiful. Where did you take this?
That is. Yeah, this is La Scalinata. It's called La Scalinata in the Vatican City. So in the Vatican Museum actually. Um, so that was one of those shots. I can remember I was there in May. The line for going to the Vatican, we had to wait for at least an hour. So there must have been thousands of people in that. And I saw this thing. I was like, "Woof! This is such a beautiful," and it reminded me of I am not a theoretical photographer, but it went out the 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 22. How's it called? Uh, well, there's this thing that plays into theory about of thirds, right? So I related that, and it was a beautiful shot, but I had to wait quite a significant amount of time trying to have no one in the shot, and I don't know if there's a head somewhere around there or not, but it was one of those shots that it paid because of the patience. And I did a little bit of correction in terms of really getting the blacks and the whites. If you see my most of my shots are really, you can say that I am in love with the blacks and white brights and contrast. But yeah, so that's the story about La Scalinata of the Vatican Museum.
This is really a great shot. I am moving forward with some of others which are in this article. Maybe you can talk about these. And I would like to say that I saw this quote from you, which is really great. I read it and it's really great.
Uh, which one? The one that says there became an interesting
Uh,
part of me. At what point colorless
yeah,
even began to irritate me? Yeah, well, that a little bit of what I told you, right? I see an image in black and white, and I'm drawn into it. I see color, and it's okay, whatever. Uh, but it's not the case because I do appreciate color, and every once in a while there comes this photograph which is wow, this needed to be in color, and one out of 100 times I will publish or put out in my social media as a temporary thing, a shot in color, because color is undeniable and it's beautiful in general. But for me, it's this color blindness that I've decided to have it as part of my life, right? So that's the colorblind part of me, and those shots. Opportunistic and well thought. So actually the one in the bottom right where you see that single person walking in that symmetric thing, that's a metro underground station here in Quito. And it had just opened that line, and it was bustling, and I knew I was sitting there. This is one of those shots that I was sitting there for 25 minutes trying to have no one in the shot or someone just walking through that intersection of lines. And it happened to be that girl that was holding her bag, and it was pretty much giving this angle, and then in the back these two guys showing that, right? But that scene, 10 seconds before, could have been the same scene with 150 people crossing there. So I was there like a madman for 25 minutes waiting for that to happen. So this paid off. And actually, this has an interesting story because that shot, the mayor of the city, the office of the mayor of the city called me and they say, "Hey, we've seen that wherever, and the mayor would like to purchase a large print of that to have it in his office." So
yeah,
that particular one really paid off. The other one that's in Doha in Qatar. I think it's the Museum of Islamic Arts or something like that. I can't remember the name. This was like 15 years ago, probably, or 10. And I just saw this thing that looked into a knife to me,
yeah.
and then there's two people crossing. So it's you really have to think about what that place is. So it's interesting. It's one that
Really
I
interesting.
really like as well. And the other one, it's this was just perhaps last year, and I was in a trade show that I go because of work, and this was a place in Florida, an exhibition center in Orlando, Florida. So it's not Disney World, but rather the convention center. And it had this beautiful architecture where, light was coming in, and I was just going out of the trade show, and I had taken my camera. So I saw this thing, and I said, no, I need to go to the car and really pick up the camera because it's a very cool setting. And again, lots of people crossing in, crossing out. And when I shot this, there was someone like a person pushing a pram or a baby carrier, and it was funny. And the title of this photo is, that's one of the things that I try to put titles that remind me of or give it a title to the scene. So this one is called Calm Down. At the time when I was shooting that picture, because I was really trying to get a clean picture, a clean shot with not a lot of people into it, there was a DJ playing, and there was this song, Calm Down. It's quite popular, pop music, Calm Down. Nah, nah, nah. I've heard this so many times. So, and when I look at this shot, I remember clearly, the song that was playing, and it looked like it could have been a lady pushing a pram and just telling the baby, as I did when my kids were little, calm down, go to sleep. So that's the
It's
story
really
behind that one.
the editing that you have done here with this. It's really great. I will try to show some of others which are included in this magazine. So maybe you would want to talk about any of these.
Okay, the one on the top, that's a building in New York. That could have been any building. I really had to find this angle that looks like an avenue, Stairway to Heaven or something like that, right? I was remember bending my neck trying to get this angle where you could show a little bit of perspective, and it was beautiful because it was a very cloudy day, right? So lots of weather coming up, and it turned out really nicely. I like it because it really makes you think what it is, and it's not other than a building, a very tall building in New York, 99 Park Avenue, but with a perspective that it's almost a vertical shot into it, right? So
Yeah.
so that's the one on top. The other one, it's one of those candid street shots, that could have been nothing, but I liked it because if you see there's two people in complete synchronicity, you know, and if you really don't pay attention, you think it's one, but it's actually two, right? So there was two girls walking by, and I shot many shots of people passing by that day, but this one really stood out when I was reviewing because, oh, is that two people there? Right. Oh, so I call it synchronicity. And the other one, I think that's a typical scene, of any street photographer. You see many of those versions of, underground entries are great. You have this perspective of light outside, dark inside, and going out. So, I remember in that one, I just really did a little bit of editing to focus those two light bulbs to really give a little bit of life, to add another element of light into the thing. And I think that is
The,
Chicago, probably New York.
the synchronized one is really powerful. And here we have some other images. We have a skyscraper.
Yeah, another
This one is
another
in New
version.
York, but not sure about the other one.
Yeah, that's New York. Yeah, early 6 a.m. in the morning. I remember I had gone to New York the day before to get the camera. I was looking for a camera. So this is special because it was the first shot with my new camera. I was really looking into a camera that I wanted. It wasn't sold in the shops already, so I bought it secondhand from someone. It was a vintage Leica MP Safari Edition, which is a beautiful green that I really love. And so this was the first shot, or the set of shots taken with my new camera that I had picked up the night before. So this was 5:30 a.m. or something, and that's the Freedom Tower. And the other one on the left, that's Burj Khalifa in Dubai, right? So again, one of these shots that I really wanted to see the huge presence of the building, and it turned out nicely as well. Strangely, there were some because Dubai, if you have been, it's always blue skies, not a single cloud in the sky. And this time there was something. There was clouds that they add a little bit of element. I really like this kind of mysterious skies, dramatic skies, So there wasn't, and then a handsome guy that I used to be a couple of years ago.
Looks very nice also this one as well. We have some others which probably it would take a lot of your time explaining everything, which I would like to hear about these as well. Here it seems like you are somewhere uh, in Asia, for example.
Well, this one, yeah, that's China, that's Beijing, right? And perhaps that shot is on purposely twisted 180 degrees, right? And so the reflection upstairs does a reflection on the water, but I really turn it around because I think it gives you an interesting perspective of that, and you say what the hell's going on there, right? It's blurry up, and it's perfect down, so it's just that photo taking and turning it upside down.
I like that.
And the other,
And the other one with the
and
silhouette.
yeah, that's my daughter actually. If she'll be embarrassed that that she's been public. They say, well, fortunately they cannot tell. So yeah, I'm big nature family trips, and yeah, I torture my kids and my family to get into pictures and shoot. So that is one of them. That is probably, I think that is in Lake Tahoe in California, and you just see it was beautiful, the set of mountains here and there, and the time was great because it was a sunset, so lots of great light and great shadows. So you can see that it looks like faces. I don't know how to say that. The other one down, that's my family actually, and that is a camera on timer at 100 meters. So I had to run and put a timer of 20 seconds and try to be there. This was this incredible arch. Nature there was just mind blowing, and it was early in the morning because it was the summer, and you had to be out there by 4 a.m. and by 10 a.m. you had to be back because otherwise there would be 45 degrees. So all of these were taking at dawn. Great. And the other one is in a beach in Costa Rica. Again, I woke up at 5 a.m. in the morning, walking the beach, just probably going for the sunrise or a little bit of nature. But there was this only guy in catching waves, right? So I think it was another great candid shot at the moment, and it turned out great. The position of the surfing board, kind of following the lines, and the sun coming out, the reflection of light in the beach with the wet beach. So that's the story behind those three or four.
Yeah, I really appreciate sharing your stories of your pictures here, and they are really, really powerful. And I have seen also your portfolio. You have amazing portfolio and amazing pictures. These
Thank
are
you.
only some of them that I have seen, and I thank you for also because when you see pictures and when you hear a story of the photographer itself, then it's really different, because everyone can interpret
Absolutely.
your own kind of words. So I thank you very much for sharing this experience with us. I have some other couple of questions, so we are probably at the end now, but I would like to ask you what challenges have you faced as a street photographer?
What challenge?
We know that we have to be patient about it.
Yeah, and you have to be careful as well, right? I think unfortunately everywhere you go in the world, there's stories about no single city is safe now, right? So you need to be really aware. And that's, I think that's a challenge, because when you're into photographing, you're absolutely focused on your thing, right? The world might be falling around you, and you're trying to capture that photograph, and you're focused only on what you see. You don't have peripheral vision to see what's going on. If someone is looking at you and trying to pick your camera and run away, right? So I think that is a challenge. That is a challenge. uh, what else is a challenge about street photography? If you miss that shot, you missed it, because it's not there anymore. Especially if it where you want to combine, some architectural element, some urban element with people, right? And sometimes you really want that thing to happen when that person is crossing exactly at the same point where a line is drawing your vision to whatever right there. And when he crosses, or when that person crosses, the legs are not separated, and it doesn't do what you want to convey in your composition, and it just went away, right? So I think that's a challenge, that really have to be there and opportunistic. uh, and sometimes you just really have to have your camera and be ready to shoot. Perhaps one of the photos that has given me the most recognition is one that I don't think it's here, uh, or perhaps it is, one that won the Sony World Photography Awards. Not won, but it was a finalist, and it was you could have seen it. Perhaps it's a monk, or a priest walking, a shadow of a priest, and again, that was one of those very busy streets. This was in the south of Italy, in one of these small towns, cobblestone, white, all white, and was with my wife. It was a special, anniversary trip, and again, I was trying to sneak time to do my photographs, while it said it was time for us, right, and share. So I was stealing time. So I said, okay, no more pictures, no more photos. We're already late. We have to see this and this and that, and you're still, taking shots. Okay, so okay, promise. So I was heading. I was lying out on. It was a small street, a very cobblestone street, full of people, and I was laying down to the wall, and I was taking out my phone, because we were planning dinner for that night. So I was googling, what places to rent, and it was a very busy street. Everyone dressed in white, light colors, because it was summer. It was hot, and then all of a sudden you could hear something happening in the street. There was a little bit of hustle and bustle, and it was basically this priest, all dressed in black, probably running late for mass or something. He was making his way out in this street packed with people. My camera was hanging there, right here, and I saw this thing coming. I said, let's try it. I just kind of zone focused, and click, 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 as he passed through, right? Saying, excuse me, whatever it was in Italian. Okay, because I said, nice picture, but whatever. At night, when we came back, we were back to the hotel. I started reviewing these shots, and it was like, what? This guy was on its own, perfect frame, no one there in front of me, even though there were 150,000 people crossing. And when you see the whole setting, there was a graffiti on the wall that says "Morte Faci," death to fascism. So, perfect shot of movement, dark in a great setting, once in a lifetime shot, and it is one of those that got a little bit of traction and recognition, and it's one of my most recognized shots. And again, the challenge is you have to give it a shot, because the odds of that shot coming like it did were one in 1,000, and just by clicking and being there and hoping, it happened. So I think that's the challenge. Really take your camera out, and shoot, and shoot and shoot.
Yeah, thank you very much for sharing this advice and sharing this amazing story with a monk and with a picture with the monk, which I would probably show after our conversation in a screen, so people can also check the picture that you were talking about. Javier, we can talk about street photography and especially in particular black and white uh, throughout night and days, but I think that you are also a busy man and I don't want to take your time. I really appreciate taking time doing this conversation with me and sharing your experience with us. And I believe that everyone who will watch this video will find something that can learn. So I really thank you. And I hope this is not our last conversation about photography. And I hope that we can do another call so we can talk about more in depth about photography as well.
Absolutely, Adrian. And thanks for having me. And thanks. I love your work. I think you have some iconic shots. And probably you can relate a lot to what I've been telling about being there and trying to get that perfect shot. And certainly, you have some perfect shots that I have been recognized. And I think we share. I don't know. I want to refocus awards or what we have been together in one of those places. So I am very humbled and thankful for your time and thinking about my work and letting me talk about it. You can tell that there is passion in
Yeah,
it.
I
And
mean, the beauty of photography and competition is this one because we met also in this competition, Refocus. So it's really great.
absolutely,
I will
absolutely.
everyone
I got
follow.
my little, yeah.
Yeah, you got also your own trophies as well, I assume.
My head coffee. Someone brought it for me from I don't know where it was, and it was like, hey man, I thought it was something like this, and it was like, oh, now you need to pay
Yeah,
me for carrying a 5 pound trophy. But yeah, it's there, right? And
yeah,
it's a nice
it's great.
recognition. Yeah,
I invite everyone to follow Javier's social medias, which I will put later after I edit this video. He has an amazing photography work, so you will see by yourself. You go and follow him, and I hope this is our not last conversations. We would have uh, also different photographers, and we will discuss a lot of different topics in the future as well. So thank you, Javier.
thank you very much, Adrian. Have a great rest of the weekend, and thanks everyone who has watched this. And look forward to having another conversation with you.
Thank you.